Hello all, this is Jenna Crow with another haul video for the week of July 20th, 2023. And believe it or not, we actually topped last week's massive haul because this week I have 30, that's right, 30 comic books to cover, all from this week. We're going to start off with DC Comics as always. And we have a brand new miniseries. It's Hawkgirl number 1 of 6. Always liked the Hawkgirl character, and looking forward to seeing this brand new adventure with her as she moves to Metropolis for a fresh start. And now we're going to move on to the Night Terrors books. We have Night Terrors Catwoman number 1, getting eaten alive by some snakes, which I'm pretty sure that would be anyone's nightmare, not just Catwoman's. And we have Night Terrors Nightwing number 1. Looks like he got the bad end of some Joker fish. And here we have Night Terrors Punchline number 1. We have Night Terrors Superman number 1. We have Night Terrors Wonder Woman number 1. Now this is actually the variant cover. I don't normally get DC variant covers because they're typically $1 more than the regular covers. But my local comic book shop, he was all sold out of the regular cover of Night Terrors Wonder Woman. And this was actually the incentive cover. It was going for $10. But it pays to be friends with your local comic book shop owner. He let me have this for regular price, so that was awesome of him. Next up, we have Tales of the Titans, number 1 of 4. This issue featuring Starfire. I believe each issue of this miniseries is going to focus on a different member of the Titans, specifically the ones that don't have their own series right now, you know, meaning Nightwing and Cyborg. They got their own titles, so they probably won't have their own issue of Tales of the Titans. But we got Starfire, I think issue 2 is Raven, Beast Boy, and then we'll see who gets the 4th issue. Wrapping up the DC books, we have The Vigil, number 3. This is a 6-issue miniseries, even though it doesn't say so on the cover there. It's okay. Ron V, good writer. Not a big fan of this concept. I think the other 2 We Are Legends titles, City Boy and Spirit World, are much better. I think this is the weakest of the 3, but it's still okay. Moving on to Marvel Comics, we have Black Panther number 2, legacy number 214. I'm really enjoying this. It's been a long time since I've gotten a Black Panther comic. I won't go into the reasons why, but I love the premise for this one with T'Challa is no longer king of Wakanda, but Wakanda still needs a protector, and he's doing the vigilante thing in one of the less wealthy cities in Wakanda. And it's a side of the country that he's never really been familiar with, which shames him as a former king, but he's doing the superhero thing, and I'm really enjoying this so far. Next up, we have a brand new series. It's Blade, issue number 1, legacy number 29. Last I've seen Blade was in the Avengers comic, the main one with basically Dracula has his own country of vampires that's now officially recognized, but Blade is kind of like a border patrol agent or marshal that keeps Dracula's country in check. So I'm imagining that this series is following up on that. It's written by Brian Hill, so I'm sure it's going to be really good. Then we have Extreme Venomverse number 5, wrapping up this anthology miniseries. And as you see here, we have like a Godzilla Venom. We have a baseball player Venom, because why not? And we have a Venom Shark, do 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 do, Venom Shark, do 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 do, Venom Shark, do 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 do, Venom Shark. Can you tell I have a little kid? Next up, we have Guardians of the Galaxy number 4, legacy number 184, as we continue Grootfall, and I still very much enjoying this Wild West theme for the current Guardians series. Next up, we have a brand new miniseries called Moon Knight, City of the Dead #1. I believe it is a 5-issue mini. The big deal for this, if you don't know, the Scarlet Scarab, the character that was introduced in the Moon Knight TV show last year, was actually the MCU original. And this series is basically her proper introduction into the Marvel Comics. So between this and Hawkgirl, this is a pretty good week for beautiful Egyptian women with wings. Next up, we have the conclusion to this miniseries with Spider-Gwen, Shadow Clones, #5. Still no ninjas in orange jumpsuits, but I've pretty much lost hope on Naruto ever showing up in a Shadow Clones miniseries starring Spider-Gwen. Oh well. But in all seriousness, it's been fun with all the different Gwen versions of the Sinister Six, and yeah, it's been a fun series. Moving on to Image Comics. Speaking of fun series, I've really been enjoying this. This is Arcade Kings #3. Huge fighting game fans from the 90s, and this comic book is a fantasy version of that culture. I find it very relatable. It feels like a shonen anime from the 90s. It feels like a fighting game from the 90s. It's just really fun, and it is a thick comic book as well. But it reads really quickly. It's very enjoyable, lots of action, very fun comic. Then we have Battle Chasers #11. First issue, not bad at all. I'm glad to have Battle Chasers back. Yeah, Joe Mad's not doing the artwork himself, but because he's not doing the artwork himself, we're actually got 2 issues of this in a row come out on time. So, hey, I'll take it. Then we have the conclusion to this miniseries. We have Dead Romans #5. Another good one. And we have this one shot is Nocterra Nemesis Special. It's marketed as a one shot, but it's really the penultimate issue of Nocterra overall, as the series comes to its finale with the issue 16, which hopefully will come out next month. The series doesn't always come out on time, but I know the end was coming soon because Tony Daniel already has his next series in the works. But Tony Daniel didn't do the artwork on this one. It's Liam Sharp, so which was the part of the point with these one shots that they've come out, was basically a way to have a different artist do a Nocterra story, but still be able to claim that Tony Daniel did the artwork for every issue of Nocterra. It's a loophole. Next up, we have Radiant Black #25. This is cover A, and this is cover B. And if you're wondering why I actually got both covers, they didn't announce this ahead of time, at least not to the readers, but it's not just the covers that are different on these 2 books. It's actually the story is different in here, because if you don't know, there's 2 Radiant Blacks, and each version of this particular issue, the spotlight is on a different Radiant Black, so you're getting the same story but told from 2 different perspectives. It's very similar to back in the 90s. There was a series from Marvel called The Slingers, where basically after Spider-Man had created like 4 alternate superhero identities because Spider-Man was wanted by the law or something like that, he abandoned those identities once that storyline was done, and somehow 4 teenagers were given those outfits. I believe it was by the original android Human Torch of all people, and they became the Slingers. Well, the first issue of the Slingers had 4 different covers. each cover focusing on a different member of the Slingers, which I think it was Ricochet, Prodigy, Dusk, and Hornet. I want to say they were, and most of the comic was the same, other than the cover. But like there was like a middle section in that first issue that was completely different depending on which cover you got. So like the Prodigy cover, the middle section focused on Prodigy, and so on. And I guess Radiant Black, this issue 25, is doing the same thing. So I ended up having to get both covers so I could get the full story. And I almost forgot about that and only got the A cover, but thankfully my local comic book shop owner, he was on the ball and asked me if I wanted to make sure I got both covers here. So there we go. Radiant Black number 25, cover A and cover B. Now, for something a little more straightforward, we have Void Rivals issue number 2. Really enjoyed the first issue, the twist that this series actually kicks off the new Transformers universe. That was a very cool twist. And but now that that's out of the way, we're back to the actual premise of this series, which feels like Enemy Mine, with the two alien races at war with each other, but finding out that maybe they have a lot more in common than they thought. And wrapping up the Image Comics, we have The Walking Dead Deluxe number 67, as now we're on the road to Alexandria. Got one comic from Ablaze. It is The Mighty Barbarians number 4. Moving on to Boom Studios, we have a brand new one-shot. It is Power Rangers Unlimited Hyperforce number 1. And it's really cool to see the Hyperforce Rangers get their own comic. If you don't know, these characters never really had a TV show of their own. Back in like 2017, there was a Hyperforce board game. It was like a tabletop role-playing game, like Dungeons and Dragons, that type of deal. And these were the team of Rangers in that board game, and there was a Twitch TV show where they had people, they had a cast play the game. It was Andre Meadows, Black Nerd, he was the Blue Ranger. Paul Schreier, who played Bulk in the actual TV show, he was Jack D. Thomas, the Yellow Ranger. Marv Shee and his brother Joe Shee, which is the Green Ranger, not on here, but they were played by the Sudarso brothers, who also both played Blue Rangers on different seasons of the actual show. And then you also had, I'm blanking on her real name, Strawberry 17, I think, is her code name, but she plays Chloe, the Pink Ranger, and she's also voiced several other Pink Rangers in the Power Rangers Battle for the Grid game. And then you had Vesper, the Black Ranger. And anyway, it was a cool alternative to the main show. It was each episode was 3 hours long. It was like a 26 episode series. They played the game, and it's the results of the game were actually canonized in the Power Rangers lore thanks to the multiverse. And so we're finally getting a follow-up to that with this comic book series. Oh, there it is. That's her name, Strawberry. Yeah, that's her name right there. I forgot she actually co-wrote this, so it's still, which feels appropriate since the original story was in a way written by the actors because it was a role-playing game. So it's appropriate that she's continuing to write the adventures of these characters. And it ties into the current storyline in the main Power Rangers comic book, so there's that too. But yep, Hyperforce, glad to see these characters continue to get their recognition because they're one of the few Ranger teams that are not based off of a Sentai series. They're wholly original to the Power Rangers franchise. Alright, moving on to Coffin Comics, we have Lady Death Diabolical Harvest issue number 2, which is World War Death, Chapter 16, Part 2, official tie-in. I don't know how it's a tie-in when this is the event itself, but whatever. Anyway, Lady Death. And then we have the big book for me this week. It's Red Sonja, number 1, from Dynamite Comics. This new relaunch to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Red Sonja, and there was like a cajillion variant covers out there. Normally I would get the Lisner cover whenever available, but that was an incentive cover, and I'm just gonna, if the regular cover is available, I'm just gonna get this. If the Lisner cover was regular price, I would have gotten that, of course, because as always I get the Lisner cover whenever available. But anyway, this is a really cool cover by Shannon Mayer. It's nice. And but as far as art goes, I'm really excited about Walter Giovanni coming back to Red Sonja. When Dynamite first got the Red Sonja license almost, I want to say 15, 20 years ago, it's been a long time, Walter Giovanni was the main artist on Red Sonja. So for me, this, plus with the writer, this feels like a back-to-basics approach to Red Sonja, and which, I mean, I'll read the weird stories where she's in the multiverse or traveled through time and all that nonsense, but at the end of the day, when I read Red Sonja, I want some good old-fashioned barbarian action, and that's what this series promises. Moving on to IDW, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus Street Fighter, issue number 2. Speaking of someone that, I mentioned with Arcade Kings earlier, I was a big fan of 90s video games, specifically the fighting games in the arcade scene. Well, when you're talking about fighting games in the 90s arcade scene, that's the standard bearer right there. So, of course, I'm all about this series. First issue was really fun. Looking forward to reading this one. And speaking of Street Fighter, yeah, I actually got this. This is from Udon. It is the Street Fighter 2023 swimsuit special. Yeah, what can I say? I don't get stuff like this too often anymore as a happily married man, but it's Street Fighter. So there we go. Okay. Got 2 more to go. From Zenescope, we have Belle, Ancient Instincts. So, new series with Belle, or no, actually not a new series, just a new one-shot. And it is 32 pages of content. And finally, we have another one-shot from Zenescope. It is Van Helsing, Hell to Pay, with that rain of blood right there. And it is 32 pages of content! Woo! That is it for the comic books. I do have one Blu-ray title to show you. It is from the Warner Archive Collection, just came out this week. I pre-ordered it online, and it is Land of the Pharaohs from Howard Hawks. This is a classic big budget epic film from 1955. I love movies like this because they don't make movies like this anymore. Even if they do, it's all CGI. It's not the same thing, because this movie alone had almost 10,000 extras in it. The scope of these type of films, I love them. Like this and Ben-Hur, Spartacus. The Russian ones like Ilya Muromets and Sampo. What was the last real epic we got? Because even Gladiator from 2000, like most of the crowds were CGI, so it's just not the same. But I wanted to get this one, and got it. It's only $20, brand new. But yep, Land of the Pharaohs. Did I already show off the inside? I think I did. It's plain Jane, which Warner Archive Collection, even though Warner Archive Collection is kind of like a boutique label, it's still Warner Brothers, so the discs, the case, the packaging and stuff is usually plain Jane. But that's fine. I mean, I appreciate like the over-the-top packaging that Vinegar Syndrome and other boutique labels like Shout Factory and them do, but the most important thing is always the movie itself. So, Land of the Pharaohs. And that is it for this week, guys. I thank you for watching this video to the end. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. And if you want to see more, there's another video right there, one right there, and you can subscribe right there. And, yep, great week, great weekend. Later, and